Hi Krishna, very dear devotees, welcome back once again to our ongoing series on the glories of our beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham, again in this very beautiful month of Kartik. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharine, Nivishesha Shunyavadi, Pastita Deshatarine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, the other day I was studying a Shastra, which I've quoted many times, Prayo Bhakti Rasarnava. I was reading chapter 9, and I found a very beautiful pastime I thought I would share with all of you today. It will most certainly enrich our appreciation and love for Vrindavan, especially during this month of Kartik. Now it's a long pastime, so I'll summarize it as best I can while sharing some nectarian details. I'll also take help from my godbrother Shivaram Swami's description of the same pastime in one of his books called Navabraja Mahima. This pastime describes what is said to be a typical evening wherein Krishna and his associates enjoy what appears to be an opulent festival that we might imagine takes place in Vaikuntha, in that abode of awe and reverence. But in reality, it's really all part of the sweetness of Braj, in which Krishna and his devotees play in different moods and different humors. So once upon a time, the cowherd boys rose from their, it's described, after-dinner nap. Apparently they have after-dinner naps. And they very quickly woke Krishna up, saying, quote, Hari, just listen to the commotion below. The performers are waiting for your arrival. Let's go downstairs quickly. So it looks like something's happening downstairs in Nandagram. So Mother Yasoda had servants, it's interesting, dress her son in royal attire before having him join his friends in the audience waiting downstairs. Because Krishna would be sitting at the center, it's described, of a royal assembly, a royal assembly. So Mother Yasoda's servants dressed Krishna in elegant royal robes, and then tucked a jeweled dagger in the sash around his waist, and smeared sandalwood paste on his limbs, and placed, it's written, a Prince Regent's scepter in his hand. A Prince Regent's scepter in his hand. And then they tied Krishna's hair in a top knot and bound it with a red and golden string and crowned it with a peacock feather. And then finally they placed a wreath woven out of very tiny flowers on his head. Then a special class of servant boys adorned Krishna with flashing earrings, a precious pearl nose ring, a diamond choker, a jeweled locket, and assorted rings of giant pearls, all from the royal treasure chest. So by this time Krishna was very restless to meet his friends and join the fun below. So Mother Yasoda opened the door of his room, and then she invited all the cowherd boys to escort Krishna to this festival downstairs. Actually, it's described in a courtyard of the palace. And flanked by friends and servants, Krishna held Balaram's hand. As he entered the assembly, it's described looking like the moon rising in the sky alongside influential planets. That's what he looked like coming in with his friends to the courtyard. Looking like the moon rising in the sky alongside influential planets. So there he met his father, Nanda Maharaj, who, on this occasion, in Vrindavan, was also dressed in royal clothes and seated on a very large throne. So both Krishna and Balaram joined him, and they sat on either side of him, Krishna on one side and Balaram on the other side. And then Krishna and Balaram, it's described, they joined their palms and they humbly offered respects to all of their elders. Now this throne was surrounded by silk carpets upon which Krishna's friends took their seats in two groups. So Subal, Arjuna, and their friends, they sat on the left, and Sridham, Sudama, and their friends, they sat on the right. And it's described that very stout, very strong servants held big lamps aloft, while Brahmins recited auspicious invocations to inaugurate the evening's entertainment. So row upon row of expert musicians played instruments and beat drums, and it's said that townspeople quickly filled this royal court. But no matter how many guests arrived, there was space to accommodate everybody. And it's written that every guest from his or her particular vantage point could see Krishna. And also that with so many Brajabasis gathered together in such a close space, with all of them lovingly chanting Krishna's names, so much bliss was generated that people wondered if entertainment was even necessary to enjoy the evening. They were just so happy in each other's association. Nevertheless, the performance began as poets sang their compositions describing Krishna's exploits with musical instruments, and while they were reciting, they were also dancing at the same time. Reciting, playing musical instruments, and dancing. It's interesting. And the audience, all the Brajbasis, they were quite pleased with the performers. So Nanda Maharaj rewarded those performers with gold coins, and requested them to come again and again every night that they had this royal performance. So then it's described, talented dancing girls charmed the audience by depicting Krishna's pastimes killing asuras like Arista and Vyomasura, as well as chastising the Kaliya serpent. And then it's written, a pot-bellied comedian, it actually says that, a pot-bellied comedian, made everyone laugh by singing and playing instruments as he impersonated demons like Kamsa and Jarasandha. And in the middle of his act, another clown appeared at the far end of the stage, which led the two clowns to pretend to argue and engage in like a mock fight between them. And while rolling on the ground and laughing, the cowherd boys, they threw coins on the stage. You can just see this in your mind. And the clowns fought over the money. And while they were fighting, they sometimes pulled each other's noses and slapped each other's cheeks. Then at the peak of this fun, when the audience was roaring with laughter, who appeared on the stage? Madhu Mangal. And he pushed the two clowns aside, and he walked to the center of the stage. And from the audience, the rowdy cowherd boys made fun of Madhu and pelted him with what? With flowers. But Madhu remained unruffled and started his own routine with jokes that immediately had everyone laughing. Then suddenly he disappeared from the stage, only to return in one disguise after another. He'd come on with one disguise and he'd leave and come on with another disguise, like that. And first he came out dressed as an outcast and ridiculed the foolish ways that rich people treat those of lower birth. Then he disappeared and came back appearing as a thief and threatening the audience, which scared little children into their parents' arms. And finally he discarded his costume and again appeared as the very lovable Madhu Mangal. And for his last act, he sang the glories of the 6 kinds of foods, especially the sweets. And he made very funny various postures and made very wild faces. And finally he left the stage to an overwhelming round of applause, especially from his friends, the cowherd boys. Actually, it's described that Krishna and the cowherd boys were all holding their stomachs and laughing when suddenly the cowherd boy, Raktaka, went and whispered to Nanda Maharaj, quote, "Mother says you must stop the show now. Krishna and Balaram must come and sleep," unquote. So Nanda Maharaj brought this very interesting evening to a close, and after rewarding all the performers, he took Krishna and Balaram by the hand back upstairs. And once the two boys were upstairs, their servants removed their royal jewels, unbound their hair, dressed them in light sleeping clothes, washed and dried their feet, and offered both of them slippers. And overwhelmed by exhaustion, then Balaram offered respect to Nanda Maharaj, embraced Krishna, and retired to his room, where he quickly fell asleep as his servants massaged his transcendentally weary body. And Krishna, he also said goodnight to his father, Nanda Maharaj, and laid down to sleep in his own room, which it's described had been freshly washed, dried, and scented with aguru incense. And the Shastra that we're referring to, it says that incense, aguru, is Krishna's favorite incense. So if you're a pujari, you can take note of that. And as Krishna fell asleep, moonlight streamed through the open window, and it illuminated Krishna's jewel-studded bed, whose moonstone posts, golden canopy, white sheets, and soft pillows illuminated Krishna's resting place. So many nice details again. And I was reading that perched in a corner, a pair of green parrots spread their wings to greet Krishna and then huddled together to sleep as they expected him to do so as well. It's cute. However, Krishna immediately woke up. He immediately woke up. And he walked out onto the balcony to appreciate the sweetness of Vrindavan's night, concluding that it was the most fitting atmosphere for his pastimes. Finally, he returned to his room and, leaning back against a pillow on his bed, fixed his mind on Srimati Radharani's smiling face and gradually drifted off to sleep as some intimate servants massaged his feet and others fanned him. Now it's written that within minutes, the goddess of sleep overcame the servant boys, who then laid down right there in Krishna's room, and all of them quickly fell into a very deep, sound sleep, just as Krishna woke up to pursue his nighttime pastimes. We were describing his evening pastimes. I never knew about those evening pastimes, so seek and ye shall find in the Shastras, Guru Shastra Sadhu. So now he woke up to pursue his nighttime pastimes. And rising from bed without disturbing the boys, who were like scattered all around the room, like tossed flower petals, it said, Krishna went back out on the balcony. And then what did he do? He played his flute in a way that only young gopis could hear. Krishna's master of the flute. So he played his flute in such a way that only young gopis could hear. And the acharyas say that, quote, the flute's message was an affectionate plea to Srimati Radharani and her friends, unquote. And what was the message that the flute was giving? I'll also quote that. Dear girls, Krishna is saying through his flute, leave your houses now and set out on the path to our meeting place. I am on my way there. Soon we will be together. That was the message the flute gave. So then, tucking the flute into his belt, Krishna leaped off the balcony onto an adjacent tree, and with the help of a bending branch, he slid to the ground and made his way down the rear part of the hill, the back part of Nandagram, where he quickly, he freely and quickly moved on a familiar path, it's described, to the banks of the Jamuna, where he often meets the gopis. And there he met his beloved Srimati Radharani and other gopis, and enjoyed many hours of rasa dance with all of them. And as the night came to an end, he quickly returned to Nandagram along the same path that he had followed, crawled up the same tree he had descended earlier, and climbed up to the balcony attached to his room. Then he very quietly and stealthily returned to his bed to sleep for only an hour, before Mother Yasoda woke him up saying, quote, "My dear son Krishna, wake up. I know that you're very tired because all day long you herd cows and play with your friends, so you must be very tired. But rise, my child, just see, the sun is rising." We quoted that in an earlier class as well. That's how she wakes him up. Little did she know. Hare Krishna. What a wonderful pastime described in our Shastras. So we'll close today. Again, it's a rather short class, but this is Kartik, and here in Vrindavan there's lots of things to do. So we'll close today with 2 verses from Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati's illustrious Vrindavan Mahim Amrita. Quote, "I worship fortunate Vrindavan, where Krishna, with a graceful, intoxicated peacock feather on his head, with a delicate, dark complexion of a blue lotus, with flower garlands, with attractive mineral designs on his body, and with a charming gunjaberry necklace, manifests his beauty. If one travels to Vrindavan, what is the use of going to millions of tirthas? If one hears the birds singing there, what is the use of hearing the Vedas? If one has a taste for reciting the names of the trees there, what is the use of stotras and mantras? If one sees Vrindavan, what is the use of thousands of meditations?" Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati ki jai. Yes, lots of wonderful leelas in Shri Vrindavan Dham. So we'll be back in a couple of days to share some more with you in this wonderful, very auspicious month of Kartik. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, the revealer of the Dham. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Vrindavan Ishwari, Srimati Radharani ki, the cowherd boys ki, Nandan Yashoda ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Maya Pradama ki, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki, Goloka Vrindavan Dhama ki, Gaura Premanandi, Jai Jai Sisi Radhe Shyam. All glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.